much money would you say that you've roughly raised from your ex?
7 figures. So I'll tell you exactly what my whole plan is, which I don't really talk about publicly on Twitter. And then you can raise 6, 7, 8 figures for deals.
All right, welcome to this episode of how to make money from everything, right? Because that's what we do. We're looking at how to make money from everything. There's always a way to make money everywhere you look. Everything you see except for the cloud, the skies, and the air we breathe costs money. So we're gonna talk about how to make money from everything. And on this episode, I have somebody who just one day just popped into my Twitter feed, right? I'm on X for about 10 minutes a day. I don't spend a whole lot of time there. Even when it was Twitter, I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. It's always been like the stepchild social media site for me. And I'm really heavy on social media, but I've never been able to really gain any traction over there. And I write long form content. And so the 140 characters always killed me over there because I'm long-winded as all get out. And I know that that's passed away now, and now you can have long-form content and videos and all this other stuff. Well, I start seeing the gentleman that's our guest today in my Twitter feed on a regular basis, and I'm like, man, this guy really knows business. He's always talking about how to make money from everything, different businesses he's looking at, different ways of monetizing things, always throwing out good ideas. And so I start looking into the gentleman. Turns out he lives up the street. And I'm like, oh, wow, what an awesome coincidence. So, of course, I invited him to come in and talk about how to make money from everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Chris Kerner, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, awesome, dude. So, let's just jump right into it. What made you decide to just go heavy on Twitter?
I'm a long-form guy, like you. The 140 characters never worked for me either. And I'm more of an introvert. I don't want to really be in the short form game. And so I've always been a writer, and it just fit really well to my style. And I think it plays well to the algorithm as well.
Do you find like the more people become successful in business, the more introverted they are? I mean, since you used that word, I think almost every successful person I talk to is like, I'm an introvert.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I say no to almost everything.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Me too. You know, I don't like hanging out. I don't like going out. I like being with my family. And I notice the more successful and the smart person, the more successful they are, the less opportunities to go be social and stuff they take. You know, first of all, I think we're mentally whipped, a lot of us, because we're working our tails off, right? But second, I think that, you know, a guy like me, I'm in front of crowds of people all the time, and that is energetically exhausting. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to be around my kids and wife who don't demand as much energy. But I was just with a guy yesterday who's super successful, and he's like, well, I'm actually very introverted, and you wouldn't guess that with the guy, but you know, I'm like, you know, I think the more successful somebody becomes, the less they want to deal with the general public.
Yeah, so. And you learn how to fake it, right? Like
right.
When you turn it on when you have to. But like I don't mind getting on stage and just getting out. And no one would guess that I'm an introvert on stage.
Right.
But then I get off and I'm like,
yeah,
I just need a nap, right?
I feel that, you know. So. Were you ever work in sales?
Not directly, but I was a missionary for 2 years.
Okay.
So I knocked doors all day, every day.
That's selling, bro.
Sold religion. Yeah.
For Mormons?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's sales, bro. Trying to convince somebody to take on a new religion. So what was your close rate, dog? That's what I want to know.
I actually tweeted about this once. I probably knocked, I guesstimated between 20 and 25,000 doors.
Holy cow.
And I baptized 11 people.
Okay. Dude,
that's like not families.
Yeah.
So like, you know, 4 of those was one family.
Right.
So it's not a great close rate.
That's a lot of no's.
It is.
You think that gave you thick skin though?
Absolutely. It changes you.
Yeah.
I got home and I left just a gamer, you know, poor GPA, fat, and I came back just ready to take on the world.
That's kind of the purpose of it though, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't even know until I looked back on it, but I just thought I could do anything when I got back.
25,000 doors, 11 people. Man, that's a job where it's like, get off my, and then, you know, you've got Bible thumpers and people of different religions that have a lot of animosity towards that. But
well, I was in Eastern Europe, so it's very much like a post-communist vibe.
Right, like Orthodox type of people, I'm guessing.
Just apathetic, just kind of a dark culture. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like,
it is what
they've just been like pressed down for
Yeah.
generations. So it's tough.
2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were out there just every day.
Every day.
Wow.
Hungry.
Well, so you grew up Mormon family.
Uh-huh.
You have a lot of brothers and sisters?
I do. No. I mean, there's 4 of us.
Okay, yeah. By today's standard, that's a lot.
It's true. I've got 4.
Average
You've
family
got
has
4,
one
right?
kid.
Yeah.
You have 4 kids now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're keeping that tradition alive.
That's right. My wife has, she grew up in 4 too. So
Okay. All right. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You plan on having more than that, or are you done?
we're done.
Okay.
We got a golden doodle and we're good.
Yeah, that's 4 kids and a dog. I'm good, man.
Yep.
So,
American dream.
so what was your first business you started?
Well, I started a business in college at the University of Alabama. It's called Phone Restore. And it was an iPhone repair shop. And I opened a retail location right in the middle of town, and I sold it 2 years later, and it sold again, and it's still there. It's still in business.
So it sold again, or you sold it twice?
No, it sold again after I sold it.
So walk me through that, because a lot of our viewers, they haven't sold a business. And in my opinion, you're getting into business so you have a sellable asset. A lot of people never exit their business because they don't build a sellable asset. And so you as a young man in college, you're building phones. Walk me through like what took place, how you had to grow, what you had to do to be able to sell that, why the person bought it.
Yeah, so I didn't know what I was doing. So I can tell everyone what not to do. Like I know now how to build a sellable business, but it's kind of like shopping for real estate. Like if you go buy a house that has like 2 bedrooms and 5 baths and a weird layout, and you're like, I'm gonna live here forever. You can't plan to live there forever, even if you really think you will, right? You've got to plan to sell that thing one day. And I think most people go into real estate with that mindset. But in business, it's like, oh, I don't know, we'll see. I don't know. Like you said, a lot of people don't even know businesses are sellable, right? So my suggestion is just, it all comes down to the financials. If you can document all of your financials, start with a Google sheet, then go to a $300 a month bookkeeper, you're in the top 10% of small businesses. And then you've got a sellable asset.
That's crazy to even think of. Like just those little small things put
That's
you
it.
in the top 10%. But you're right, because I do these seminars all the time. Like, how many of you know what a P&L is? And like, there'll be like 3 hands in the room. Maybe there'll be 50 hands in the room, but then I'm like, how many of you actually do it? And there might be 1 or 2 left hanging. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the other thing about business. A lot of people know they're supposed to do stuff, and that's life in general, and then don't do it.
I know.
They think I'll get around to it one day. Doesn't matter that much. And it doesn't matter that much when you're the person running the business, but if you're ever going to sell it to someone else who's going to run it, they need to know those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you sell an iPhone business, and what happens next?
I started another business the very next day.
Okay.
I closed.
You didn't even go on vacation, dog?
This is vacation. I mean, honestly, building businesses is my passion. It's my life. It's my hobby. Some people fish. I love it. It doesn't feel like work.
Got it.
So literally the next day, I went to the courthouse and I filed a new LLC called LCD Cycle.
In Alabama?
In Alabama,
Okay.
Yep. And we sold wholesale iPhone parts to the types of stores that I had just sold. And then we also recycled them in China. And so I had a team of cold callers in the Philippines, and they would call. I gave them a list of 20,000 iPhone repair stores, everyone in the country. And they said, hey, do you have broken iPhone screens? Well, yeah, of course. We'll buy them. What? Why would you buy them? Well, we can recycle them. $3 a pop. We'll send you a prepaid label. Okay. So they'd ship them to us, and we would test them, package them, ship them to China, and sell them for $10 a pop. And then, once we had our foot in the door, so we got our foot in the door by buying from them, because it's a really easy sell.
Buying trash.
Yeah, to say, hey, this is a cold call. I want to give you money for your trash. Oh, okay. That's an easy cold call. And then we get their trust, right? We sent them the money. Then it's like, hey, where are you getting your screens from? Oh, this guy or that guy. We can sell you screens too. And you can use that as credit. Like we'll buy them for $3, but we'll buy them for $4 if you use it as credit towards parts. And the average repair shop spends $3,000 a month on parts. So then we start selling them parts, just importing from China as a middleman. And that grew really fast because it was high ticket and it was just cold call, and that grew really fast. So I did that for 7 years.
So the brilliance behind this to me is like you sold an iPhone repair shop, then you went back to, so I guess you didn't have an NDA or a non-compete or anything like that.
No, because it was like, the first thing I did was call the acquirer, say, hey, I'm selling screens now. You want to buy from me? I know who you were buying from. I'm cheaper. They're like, sure.
Sure.
They didn't care.
Win-win
They were
situation.
fixing phones. I was selling parts.
Right. So
it
you
wasn't
weren't
even the same.
competing against.
Yeah.
You weren't in the same, but you went right back to the same industry, something you already knew, and saw another problem in the same industry and fix it. How do you, the thing that's like amazing to me is you had cold callers in the Philippines, part suppliers in the China. How in the world did you set that up?
Upwork. I just went on Upwork and posted. It was called Odesk then.
Yeah.
But I just posted a job. They wanted $5.55 an hour because they took 10%, so they wanted to net 5. I remember that. And I used a scraper to get all the repair shops. I uploaded it to a CRM. I wrote a script in Google Docs. I never made one cold call. Usually you work out the kinks, but I was just like, no, like go ahead. And it was such a good offer,
Right.
that it just worked.
Hey, we'll buy your trash. Okay, I was going to throw it away and not get any money for it. Yeah.
Now, a year later, it was very competitive.
Right.
Because so what happened was, it was like late 2011. I was in a store. We had 3 stores. I was working one of them. And I get a call from an Asian guy, and he's like, do you want to sell your screens? And like, I think most people would be like, oh, I can make some money. I'll sell my screens. But I was like, oh, what's the angle here?
Right.
What's the angle here? So I just started peppering him like, why? Where are these going? What are you doing with them? And I never even sold them to him. All right, thank you. And then I'd just get on Alibaba, and they had all the iPhone screen sellers. There was no place to sell these to. So I thought, probably the guys selling the screens are also recycling. So I just copy paste. Do you recycle? Do you recycle? And like 1 out of 10 would say yes. So I said, what's your price? Send me your price list. It was brand new. Like they had just developed this technology that would heat up an iPhone screen, and they'd take this metal wire and slide it between the broken glass and the LCD. So if the LCD didn't have any dead pixels, it was still good. And then they would have a cleaner solution to remove all the adhesive, and then they would just put brand new glass right on top of it, and you're good to go. And so I just got these price lists, and I sold them my screens as a repair shop owner. And then I was like, okay, this is the play, because retail sucks. Everyone knows it sucks. It does. Meeting
Agreed.
people face to face, we fix their phone, and then they come back the next day, oh, this isn't working right. And it's like, oh. It was the worst. And so divine intervention, like a week after that seed was planted, a competitor calls me and he's like, hey, I love what you're doing. You want to talk about selling your business? So I already had plan B. I was like, yeah, let's talk. So I didn't even really care what I sold it for at that point, because I knew that this was a bigger opportunity.
And so did you end up selling the screen recycling business as well?
7 years later.
7 years later. So you did that for a while.
Yeah. I was always doing other stuff at this. I've always had multiple businesses at the same time.
Right.
But I always have like a flagship. And that was my flagship for 7 years.
Gotcha. And y'all had multiple locations, or it was all just, through the internet, or?
Yep. So that's why I moved from Alabama to Texas, because we had one small warehouse in Alabama, and I opened it there because I was living there. And then I looked at my customer list one day, and I'm like, man, like I have all these customers in Chattanooga, Atlanta, and Birmingham. So I called them up, and I'm like, why are you buying from us? Because by this point, it was like a commodity. Why are you buying from us? And I'm like, well, we had free shipping over $200. And so they're like, I can buy $200 worth of parts, and I don't have to pay for overnight. Since I'm so close, ground is overnight. So I can get my parts the next day for free. And so basically, they were buying from me because of proximity. And so I just kind of sat there, and I'm like, well, why am I living in Huntsville, Alabama? This is not a strategic place to live for the business. And so I went to Google Maps, and I pulled up FedEx's, 1 day shipping radius map and started typing in zip codes. And it's like, all right, Chicago, a lot of people there. I don't want to live in Chicago. LA, okay. Vegas goes to San Fran and LA. I don't want to live in Vegas. And it was Dallas. I was like, okay. San Antonio, 7th biggest city. Houston, 4th biggest. Dallas, 3rd biggest. Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Shreveport. And it was like 40 million people in a 1 day shipping radius, which meant that, because our overnight shipping was expensive, but ground was free over $200.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I would blow up if I moved to Dallas. So we packed up the U-Haul and moved to Dallas. And then we opened 2 more. So I kept Huntsville open so we could keep shipping East Coast. Opened in Dallas. It worked. And then we opened in Michigan to get that whole area. And then we opened in Orlando to get all of Florida.
Gotcha. Most people think Huntsville, Alabama, and they think, oh, it's like some backwards area or whatever, but it's very beautiful there.
It is.
I've been to Lake Guntersville a bunch of times, man. What a beautiful place. I like it. There's lots of nice houses. I mean, NASA's there, all this.
A lot of PhDs and engineers.
It's not like the rest of Alabama.
It's true.
It is its own little nice part of the state. And so you did that for 7 years. Then what's next?
Then I started buying and selling mobile home and RV parks.
All right.
Yep.
Now we're talking business.
Yep. So that was 2019 to 2021. I partnered up with two guys and we bought and sold like 25 mobile home and RV parks.
Print money.
Yeah, it's a good business.
I have a guy that is a really close friend of mine that was here last Friday, and he's out of Atlanta, and he sells container homes. Mm-hmm. And for 150 grand, they can build up to 4 containers, build a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, whole setup, ships directly, assembles within 48 hours. And his mission is to replace mobile homes, which are constantly having wear and tear on, with these container homes.
I like it.
And they're similar to mobile homes in the sense that you actually own the home. So when you leave the land, and his thought process, he was telling me, he's like, well, we build these and we do the elevation on the outside. We build them in LA. It's 150 grand. Now your home's worth $2 million, And he's like, you build it in Atlanta, same $150,000. Now your home's worth $500,000. And he's like, you can put these elevations and landscape and all around them and make them look like a very modern home, like something that would belong in Miami or LA or something like that. And he goes, then when you move, you just take it with you.
Yeah.
Fits right back on the back of shipping trucks with cranes. You fold it together,
sell
move
your
the furniture
land.
out, sell the land.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, that's brilliant. I was like, you ought to talk. I was like, I get what you're thinking, 150 to add all this equity to people in Miami and LA and stuff. But like, what about mobile homes? That these things are indestructible because they're containers, bro. I backed a try on the ranch. I backed a tractor into one of these things. Didn't even put a dent into it. You know what I mean? So these things are indestructible. If you back a tractor into a mobile home, that thing's gone forever, Then he's like, man, that's actually a really good idea. Problem is, most people that own mobile home parks, they don't want to sell them, man, because they're making so much money from them.
It's a great asset.
It is. It is a very big cash flow, very low overhead. As long as nobody's cooking meth in them and blowing them up, man, you're okay. Which happens. I mean, that's part of the business, as you know. So.
Yeah. Well, it's low maintenance because if you do it right, you only own the land.
Right.
And you just rent out spots on. Then they maintain the home.
But it's difficult to get a city to permit mobile homes.
That's why you buy existing, which we did.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you can buy in city limits and they've already grandfathered you in, you're made. I mean, you're the cheapest house in town.
Of course.
If the economy does well, you do well. If the economy tanks, you do well.
I live in a $2 million home up the street here, and in the city of Frisco. And there is one mobile home park in the city of Frisco, and it is on the other side of the neighborhood, so it's maybe a mile away from my house. And it's very nice. It's well kept. They hide it, you know what I mean? It's like a hood. They hide it behind, banks and stuff in the front. You got to kind of go behind there to find it. But I guarantee whoever owns that is making millions.
Oh, yeah.
Just because you're a mobile home park in Frisco. It's like there's one, you live here, so I'm sure you pay close attention on 75 in Spring Creek in Plano. That thing's been there for...
I've done a tweet on that one.
My entire life it's been there.
That's like a $150 million park.
I believe it.
And the city hates it.
I know it. They try to hide it from the freeway and everything.
Not just the eyesore, but they lose millions in property taxes.
Yeah.
'Cause just imagine, like, $2 million home, you're paying 40 grand a year in property taxes
30
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that was a mobile home park, they're getting nothing.
Yeah.
So cities
because they treat that as as far as the taxation on a mobile home park, why is that cheaper? Do they treat it as individual lots so it's less, or is it raw land that they get taxed on? How does that work?
It's like raw land.
Really?
So it's pennies to them.
Wow. Yeah. And it's such an eyesore on 75.
I know. It goes on forever too.
It's big.
I think it's like 400 lots.
And it's like established trailers all the way down to guys that just parking for overnight in their little campers or whatever, So right in the heart of Plano, Texas. It's one of the richest cities in Texas.
It's like the lowest and worst use of that real estate. Right?
Yeah, it really is. But it's big money, I flip land and up in Oklahoma. And right now we have some land under contract on the lake, and that's what we're deciding on.
Which
one
lake?
of the lakes, Lake Murray.
Okay.
And that's what we're deciding to do. It's like, we bought it. We buy land from ranchers, so I have a partner, and he knows all the ranchers in the area. I'm the finance guy in Dallas, so I know all the people with money and how to move things and market. So we make a very good partnership because he talks to Joe Blow, the rancher, and he's like, yeah, man, I give you, $2,500 an acre for this, and we know we can turn around and get, this particular case on the lake, we could probably get $40,000 an acre. We picked it up for 10.
Wow.
And so And the reason, and 40,000 is conservative because they've sold 3 1-acre lots around the area, anywhere from $49,000 to $85,000. And this is as close to the Corps of Engineers. There's Corps of Engineers land. This is as close to the lake outside of that Corps of Engineer land that you can buy.
Wow.
And so we picked it up. An older guy inherited the land. He's just over it, wants out of it. He tried to develop it himself and failed.
Yeah.
One of those kind of things. He said, y'all just take it off my hands. And so that's one of the things that we were looking at. It's like, what if we set up an RV park or a motorhome park on like 5 or 10 acres? It's 104 total. So what if we set that up next to the lake? And so, so I may pick your brain on that.
Oh,
man.
you would crush it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lake Murray's a popular lake. A lot of Texoma's full now, so a lot of people go up to Lake Murray, which is another 30 minutes away from Texoma, and it's a lot less people. It's actually prettier than Texoma because it's clear and in the hills and all of that. So it's like the next up and coming thing, you know. So, and his wife is a real estate broker up there, and she's constantly getting hit up for lake properties, and there ain't any.
Yeah.
There's nobody's moving. Once you get it at a lake, it stays there. You know what I mean? And so. So you said you did that for 2 years. Then what?
Then I
did everything. You're like Jeff Bezos. Then I just sold everything.
So co-founders, that's what I'm doing now. So I bought a domain name, cofounders.com, because I'm always doing everything.
That had to be expensive.
Right? It was $65,000, which I thought was actually
that's actually pretty cheap. That's way cheaper than I expected.
Yeah, because like acquire.com was like $600,000, retention.com was $800,000. So I felt good about it.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I agree with that.
Yeah. So we basically have this program where we start, it's not an incubator, it's not a venture studio, it's not a holdco, it's kind of a hybrid, where we partner with college students and we give them an idea. They don't bring an idea, we give them a salary, we fund the business, we give them the idea and all the training, and then we incubate these businesses and then we just hold them forever. So
what kind of businesses do you get with these college kids? Like landscaping, things of that nature, or what?
Kind of. We don't care. We want free cash flow. We're not building tech businesses. We're not building apps. We want free cash flow and quickly for like low overhead. So we have a tree trimming company that's growing like crazy.
Yep.
We have a Bitcoin mining services company where we sell miners and hosting to Bitcoin miners. We have an RV park. We have an e-commerce company that sells all of Buc-ee's products online. And then we have...
you have to get licensing from Buc-ee's, I'm guessing, to
No,
do that?
it's actually kind of a crazy story. I cold emailed Buc-ee's 4 years ago and said, I owned you know what 3PLs are? Third-party logistics companies?
Yep.
So I owned a 3PL. That's what I did right afterwards. I owned a 3PL called Send Eats, and we shipped food for e-commerce brands. So around that time, I cold emailed Buc-ee's and said, why aren't you guys selling online? We'll manage all of it for you. And they wouldn't respond. And so I went to Buc-ee's and I bought one of everything. And then I cold emailed hundreds of reporters and launched a website called Beaver Snacks. And we basically launched their website for them to get their attention. And it did. And the lawyer called me and he's like, hey, this is great, actually. We want you to change the name. So I changed it to Texas Snacks. And so for the last 3.5 years, we roll up a box truck to a Buc-ee's in Melissa, and we spend $30,000 to $100,000 a week on food. We pay full retail, and then we take it back to our warehouse in Wiley, and we shelve it and we sell it online. And so basically, all of Buc-ee's online stuff gets sold through us, and it's kind
Jerky, fudge,
everything,
toys,
shirts,
everything.
all their apparel. We sell all of it.
And they can't complain because you're buying it from them.
Full retail.
No different than eBay.
Yeah.
You know?
And they just ask that we don't cause confusion on our website.
Right.
So there's like disclaimers everywhere.
Yeah, we're not Buc-ee's.
Yeah, exactly.
I dig it, man. And so you're holding these companies long term. So you're looking for companies that are going to be around for a long time. You're, I'm guessing your Bitcoin mining's doing pretty good right now. You know,
yeah.
It just touched $69,000. They're saying
Yeah.
it's going to go to 100.
Yeah.
They've been saying that for a long time. That's going to go to 100 by 2025. Looks like it might actually happen.
Well, now we have the ETF, so there's like a vehicle.
Right.
A lot of bigger money in the space.
There's several of those. You know, there's
like
several companies that have
yeah.
launched ETFs like
11.
almost all at once. Yeah. I have a little bit. I've always, bought and watched Bitcoin or Ethereum go up and then sold when it was up and then thought, damn it, I should have held it. But I've always made money off of it. I can't recollect the time that I've ever lost money from it. I always just like, man, it's up 20%. Should probably sell. Is it,
Yeah.
Hogs get slaughtered, pigs get fed. Type of adage. But at some point in this transition, you decided that you were going to take this online and start talking about it on X.
Yep. So that was 2021-ish. I exited our whole portfolio from mobile home parks, and I started an anonymous account called MHP Guy, Mobile Home Park Guy. And that's still my handle. It's not my name, but it's still my handle. And I just started talking about investing in mobile home parks. But it wasn't like fluff, it was very tactical.
Yes.
Like, here's exactly how we do due diligence. Here's a link to our Google Sheet. Here's exactly what I look for. Here's a breakdown of an exact park that we did, what we got into it, how we added value. Here's how to infill. Here's what we exited for. Here's how we see cap rates. Like, I just let it all hang out. And I grew from like 0 to 10,000. I hit pause on it for like 9 months, but over the course of like another 9 months, I grew from 0 to 10,000. Never planning to stay anonymous forever. And so at 10,000, I de-anonymized my account. I kept the handle the same, but I had a big post that was like, hey, I'm actually Chris Kerner. Like, I'm gonna still talk about RV and mobile home parks, but I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And so I don't wanna just pigeonhole myself. And so that was like 9 months ago when I came out of the anonymous closet, and I just kept growing. And so now I just post all kinds of business stuff like you see. Sometimes RV and mobile home park stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes just anything I come across.
And you have built like a syndicate. You got a couple other guys that are doing this with you that they'll say follow you for information, and you'll say follow them for information. Are those your business partners or homies or what?
In co-founders, I have a 50-50 business partner, and that's my best friend, Nick.
Okay.
And he has a Slack group for Twitter growth with 100 to 200 people in it. And so I'm kind of tangentially involved. That's his project, and he's crushing it. And they help each other with engagement. But that's not like a direct project of mine.
Gotcha. Because I'll see him I follow him too, and I'll see him tag you and say, hey, follow Mobile Home Park Guy for information like this, And so I figured you guys had some kind of what we call a syndicate, where a few of us are basically conspiring to help each other out, basically.
Yeah, I helped. Like, his account's only like 4 or 5 months old.
Okay.
And I helped seed it with like his first followers, but since then he's just like crushed it.
I think the secret sauce that you guys have is what you just said. You don't have this scarcity, I'm trying to sell you something mentality. So it's like, here's a little nugget, pay me for the rest.
Exactly.
You're just like putting it all out there, and then do what you will with that information.
Yeah. So I'll tell you exactly what my whole plan is, which I don't really talk about publicly on Twitter. So
you need more money exclusive right here,
I just put it all out there, right? And then I build goodwill, build trust. I have a newsletter that's free. There's no ads. There's no paid version. It's just once a week. And I just put like even more tactical, like 2,000 to 3,000 words about how to start businesses, right? But then...
You write it yourself?
Yeah.
Because you're a writer?
Yeah. I don't ghostwrite anything. I actually just downloaded an app on my MacBook that tracks how many words I type. And I had never known. And I write 6,000 to 7,000 words a day.
Yep, I do the same thing.
A day.
About the same amount, yeah.
Really? Yeah. So anyway, I'm writing a bunch. So I'll put it all out there. I build a bunch, and that helps the engagement, right? Because people are like, oh, like Chris just posted this. He does all this for free. I'm gonna go comment. So my average post gets like 2 to 10 times as many impressions as I have followers. Whereas usually it's like 10% the impressions to followers, right? But then occasionally I'll come across an opportunity like an RV park I'm raising money for. And just last night I posted, we're under contract on a park in Montana. And I was like, look at this awesome park. Here's how I look at it. So it's still just as tactical. Here's why it's good. Here's what I don't like about it. If you're interested in being an investor, let me know. And just kind of offhand at the end, not like a hard pitch. And then my DMs are just flooded with accredited investors. And then you can raise 6, 7, 8 figures for deals.
Yeah, because they can tell you know what you're doing. Most people don't want to work for money. If they've got money laying around, this guy's smart. He says the right stuff. Let's put a little bit in with him and see what we've got going. You take $50,000 minimum from them.
Yep.
Go, get you a place, at least cover your 20, 30% down if you need. And so, yeah, I can dig that, man. My favorite posts of yours are where you'll put like a deck with a swimming pool sitting on top of it on the second story.
That's not me. That's not me.
That's not you?
That's Nick Huber.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry, I got confused.
He trolls the world with
that
that
stuff is hilarious, man. So, but you said that guy is your partner, correct?
No, that's a different Nick.
Okay, gotcha.
Nick Uleski.
Okay. I see the three of y'all in the newsfeed. I thought the three of y'all were all associated with each other.
Not
like y'all
Huber.
are all-
I know
okay.
him. We've DM'd a couple
Gotcha.
times.
Those are hilarious, man.
They are.
There would be so
He
many
plays the
people
game
saying
really
that that's
well.
absolutely impossible to do that.
I know.
It'll
And that just
have to-
drives the engagement.
Dude, just drives it,
Yeah.
man. And they're hilarious, too,
I
because
know.
anybody with common sense knows he's just messing with people, right? But there's a lot of common sense lacking from
It's true.
the internet these days.
It's true.
So,
Yeah, that is one approach to growth, and he's got 350,000 followers.
Yeah.
It works. I just take a different approach.
because he knows how to raise rent, bro.
Yeah, I know. My approach is like, I put my humor in there a little bit, but I only tweet things like I actually believe, right? And that sounds duh, but
Right.
it's not as obvious as you think. Like if I post something controversial, I actually believe that. And I feel like people, like it just earns me more trust and goodwill with my followers.
So how much money would you say that you've roughly raised from your X
Well,
platform?
I've only been doing, so for the first, up until 3 months ago, I wasn't doing anything. Like no sales, no pitch of any sort, right? So this is fairly new with the RV park stuff, but 7 figures,
Nice.
mid 7 figures.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's helped you acquire a couple mobile home parks, 1, 2, how many would you say?
So 2, but then we're under contract on 4 right now.
Gotcha. 4 additional.
4 additional.
Wow.
Yeah. And then additionally, my wife is a broker of RV parks.
Okay.
And so people, it's just this flywheel. People will DM me off-market parks, right? And some of them are really good deals.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Where do you find them?
And so I can
But they
wholesale
know
it.
you're the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll do a breakdown of the park, and then I'll say, DM me with info. And then I can wholesale it, or I can give it to my wife and she can list it, or I can buy it myself and raise money for it. So it's just this flywheel where I don't need to go looking for stuff. It just comes to me in the DMs. But if I were to like sell a $10 a month newsletter and like that's my lever, then I'm just, I could have a couple grand a month MRR, but it's not the highest and best use of that
I
attention.
agree. Well, I call that attraction marketing because you're putting information out there that attracts the right people. Like, for lack of a better phrase, like an uneducated dumb person's not following you because they don't grasp the concepts you're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're putting smart stuff out there. Therefore, smart people like myself that get business are following you.
Yep.
Then they see that you have experience. They see that you've stuck with it. They see the consistency, and they're like, you know what? I can trust this guy. Let me see if he wants to buy this mobile home park in Kansas. Oh, my buddy just hit me up and said such and such places for sale. Let me see if Chris is interested in it, right? And then that gives you an opportunity to say yes or say no, or go, like you said, go wholesale it. So at this point, is the majority of your stuff coming from X?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but I posted about this 3,000 acre ranch in Idaho, and
I did see that.
I'm driving out there tomorrow with my family, and I'm gonna raise the money for that. From
How much
Twitter
they
as well.
want for 3,000 acres in Idaho?
12 million.
It's not bad.
It's not like farmland. It is like Yellowstone, like
Yeah,
mountains
mountains,
and
yeah.
rivers, and it is like a playground, like world class elk hunting and fly fishing, bird hunting, and it comes with a 7,000 square foot house and a 7,000 square foot lodge, like all this real, and like an Airbnb business. So that's good. Like we might actually move there.
Yeah. Idaho's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
It really is. What part? North, south?
It's like northwest.
So kind of by like Coeur d'Alene and all that.
South of Coeur
Beautiful
d'Alene.
part of the country.
Yeah.
Beautiful part of the country. There's some things that we can talk about off camera. I'm pretty good at monetizing land.
Yeah.
Especially for hunting and
I would
things
love
like
to.
that. So I can definitely help you with that in the future. I once was on, my big platform's Facebook. And I was once talking about the different ways we monetize land, and there was a few ranchers that got in there and they're like, that's impossible. There's no way you can cover the debt from that property with that. And it's like, maybe you can't.
Yeah.
But we figured it out.
Yeah, you're still in the 70s here.
Exactly. You're still thinking, oh, we just pull a tractor and mow and have some cattle. But like, we're over here thinking how we can, because we bought some property about 6 months ago in Oklahoma. You mentioned elk. And the whole reason we bought the property, it was for sale for $25,000 an acre. We picked it up for $2,500 an acre. We owned the land next to it, so there was no easement to get to it. So we told them, hey, we didn't tell them we own that land. It's in one of our company names. We're like, since nobody can access this land, who are you going to sell it to? Somebody with a helicopter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it backs up to this place called the Goddard Ranch, which is a high fence place, right?
Okay.
Well,
exotics?
Yeah, exotics. About 3 years ago, that fence broke down and the elk crossed the river onto this property. So there's 400 elk rolling on this
Oklahoma?
land. In Oklahoma, bro.
Wow, I had no idea.
And they have thrived there. I mean, you could just go by on a horse and rope them. There's so many of them, right?
Yeah.
And so we were like, hey, man, we start selling people $12,000 a hunt, elk hunts right here in Oklahoma. You come from Dallas and you can go to Wyoming and go up like Cameron Haynes in the mountains and quarter and drum, or you can just go shoot those bastards from a helicopter in Oklahoma if you want, you know? and people are like, that'll never happen. I bet I had no less than 500 people going, dude, I'll give you 5 to 10 grand to come up there and hunt one of those things.
Oh my gosh.
And dude, it's not even hunting. There's so many of them. It's like, you know, it's killing. It ain't hunting. You know what I mean?
Fish in a barrel.
But elk is delicious. These are all natural, grass-fed. There's no gimmicks with them. There's no, I mean, and we had to go get tags set up with the state of Oklahoma because it's not a natural, but there's no season. So you can hunt them. You can hunt them anytime because there's no elk season because it's not a natural resource or a natural.
Is there lodgings there for them to stay?
We have a place next door, but it literally it's an hour and a half from here. So if you live in Dallas, you just drive up there early in the morning, drive home in the afternoon, you're gone. You know,
that is crazy.
Yeah, it's and then on top of that, we sell hay. We sold $250,000 worth of hay last year. You know, hay goes for $50 to $80 a bale down here, but you ship it to California, it's $200-300 a bale.
I had no idea.
So I mean, there's like all sorts of stuff that you can do out there on that land to make money. I just got I think we ended up getting $20,000 from pecans. So I buy the place. 2 years ago, I bought a ranch. And my neighbor owns a pecan orchard. One day, and dude, you can't, it's 400 acres, so you can't see neighbors, right? There are no neighbors. But one day, I see him riding his mule, like not a mule, but like the Kawasaki mule in the back. And I'm on a four-wheeler, so I haul tail over there, catch him at the fence. Hey, I'm your new neighbor. I bought this place about 7 or 8 months ago. What do you do for a living? Oh, I run a pecan orchard. No kidding. That's cool. What's that like? It's $3 a pound, man. You know, we got X amount of trees, X amount of acres, whatever he said. And then I looked back and I was like, I think I got about 1,000 pecan trees on my land over here. You want to like cut a deal where you come over here and get my stuff? And he's like, yeah, I never thought of that.
He probably could sell anything he got, right?
Oh, dude, sold all of it.
Yeah.
You know, we end up getting like 14,000 pounds of pecans at $3 a pound. You know what I mean? That's like a good come up.
Yeah.
So, and then we split it up because he has the equipment and then now I took that money, went and bought my own equipment and had my own ranchers do it. And now I don't got to split it with them anymore. You know what I mean? So it's a nice come up for him for 1 year. That paid for the equipment for me to get my ranchers to do it for me. So whoever owned that before was missing out on hay, missing out on pecans, missing out on, you know, all sorts of stuff that now, and because of that, now on the equipment, my ranchers will go into town and offer other people with land for us to collect their pecans and stuff too. So it's like, there's ways to monetize land that a lot of people just don't know. You know, around here in Dallas, somebody will go up to Salina or Prosper, and they'll buy 30, 40 acres that they plan on developing at one point. And they'll just let it sit there tax exempt, you know, for the next 5 or 6 years until it's ready. It's like, brothers, you should be getting hay from that. You should have cattle out there so you get land exempt from it. Cows, you know, beef is at an all-time high right now as well. And so, you know, if you get some good cows and a good couple bulls, you can make good money from that. So, you know, people, in some of those things, like any other business, you're always investing back into equipment, back into animals.
But it compounds.
But it compounds, and that's what you do in any business. If you're not investing back in your business, you know, then you're not really running the business properly. If you're taking cash out of it to buy luxury goods and fuel your own lifestyle as opposed to continuing to build that thing up, then, you know, you're kind of missing the point of business anyway. So, well, man, that's a really cool story. And you're the first person that I have ever interviewed or really even talked to in real life that's found a way to really make some serious monetization from Twitter. So that's really, really cool, man.
It is cool. I love it.
So do you call it Twitter or X?
Twitter.
Okay,
Twitter
gotcha.
to me,
It's hard to break a brand, right?
It is.
Like if Apple changed the iPhone to the U phone, it'd be the iPhone for forever, right?
I know.
That's the thing I think Elon did. I get it. He just named it X to totally tarnish Jack Dorsey and everything else. But there's so many things that are X that's a hard brand to own.
It is.
You know what I mean?
I think he just had that domain forever and he just wanted to do something with it.
Probably. That makes a lot of sense too. They say he bought that because it had he bought it for $40 billion and it had $200 billion worth of tax write-offs, and he needed the tax write-offs is why he bought it in the first place.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure those are the numbers because it had tax credits at 200 billion, and because Tesla took off, he needed the tax credits. So to spend $40 billion to buy $200 billion worth of tax credits, that if you were just buying that site, you don't need them.
Yeah.
But if you have Tesla that's now producing more cars than GM or selling more cars than GM, then you need those $200 billion in tax credits. So it's actually another brilliant move by him to acquire that site. Yeah, absolutely he does. Like, I always wonder if he's going to end up like, Tony Stark or Lex Luthor one day, because he's got an option to be either one, the good guy or the guy that's like, eventually you've been the good guy long enough to now you're the bad guy, so.
Well, either way, I'm a shareholder.
Yeah, so. That's awesome, man. Well, Chris, I appreciate it, man. Lots of good information. If they want to follow you on X, what is your handle again?
It's MHP_guy.
Okay, awesome. And how do they sign up for your newsletter?
Is my website, chrisjkerner.com.
Okay, awesome. We'll make sure we put all that underneath the video here. And dude, I just appreciate your time.
Of course.
And good information here for everybody. And you guys follow him, man. The guy's giving like business game for free. So if if you're looking for someone that you can learn from that's actually done it, clearly he's sold a couple of businesses. He's he's a businessman. How old are you, by the way?
37.
And young and has the experience from day one of being in college. So follow him, check it out, join his newsletter, and we'll see you on the next episode.